Hey young friends, Dr. Bill here. I'm so glad that you've taken a few moments to join me today. In our series of big names in the Bible, we're continuing to talk about Jesus. And most importantly, we've been talking of late about the things that Jesus did. You may recall we talked about how Jesus healed people. And then last week we spoke about how he cast out evil spirits or demons from people. Today I want to speak with you about another thing that Jesus did that's very, very important. Here it is. Jesus prayed. Now, all of our Gospels, all four of them, give numerous instances where Jesus prayed, where he made it a point to speak with God. Let me recall some of those for you. There's an instance, for example, in which Jesus was enjoying great success in his ministry in and around Capernaum. People were coming to him, they were being healed, he was casting out demons, he was offering some very, very powerful teaching, and people flocked to see him and to hear him. Well, after spending a day or two in Capernaum, Jesus retreated to pray. And then one of his disciples came and said early in the morning, "Jesus, where have you been? Everybody's looking for you." And Jesus then said, after having prayed, "I think it's time for me to go elsewhere. I need to leave Capernaum behind for a bit." So Jesus prayed when he was enjoying success to figure out what his next move might be. And then as well, the scriptures tell us that for example, after feeding the multitude, after taking care of their physical needs, Jesus sought some time alone. I think we can understand that. After having fed a multitude of people, after having taught them for a long time, Jesus probably felt very tired and very drained. He knew that his energy was at a low ebb. And so he sought some time alone, away from others, away from the press of the crowd, so that he could just be with God and speak to God. And then the Gospels also tell us that Jesus, before he called the 12, he spent some time in prayer. Jesus needed some guidance from God as he was getting ready to choose his 12 closest friends, those who would be around him the most. Out of all the people that were trying to follow him, Jesus needed an inner circle, and he prayed to God for guidance about that. And then, right before he was headed to the cross, Jesus spent some time in prayer, and after that, he asked his disciples two very important questions. He said, "Who do people say that I am? What's the word on the street? What are they saying about me?" And then he followed that up with the most important questions. "Hey, friends, who do you say that I am? What have you learned about me?" Jesus spent time in prayer and recognized that it was time to prod the disciples, to get them to go deeper and to think more deeply about who he was and what he was doing. And then, before Jesus was crucified, we have an account where Jesus had said to Peter, "You're going to fail me." But he said, "I want you to know, Peter, that I have prayed for you, that you won't fall, but that you'll be strong and that you'll be able to face whatever happens." And then certainly, Jesus prayed in the Garden of Gethsemane, asking that if there was another way, that God would give it to him. He said openly, "I really don't want to go to the cross. I don't want to die." And so he prayed. And then when he was on the cross itself, he gave voice to his agony and his pain, praying to God, and also praying that God would forgive those who had done this to him. So there are lots of times that Jesus prayed, and that's just a sample of them. So what can we learn? What can we glean from this? Well, first, Jesus sought regular times of prayer. He felt the need to get away from people and spend time alone with God. He recognized that there was a rhythm to life. There was the time where you had to be with people, and you had to minister to them and work with them. But in order to keep doing that, Jesus said to himself, I need to pull aside and take care of my own soul. And so he retreated into private places and spent time alone with God. And that's a good lesson for us. Sometimes we can be so busy, we can work so hard, we can be spending all of our time with other people that we suddenly feel drained and empty. Regular time with God helps us keep our soul and our life in balance. And then it's obvious that Jesus prayed before he made big decisions. There are lots of accounts in the Gospels where right before pivotal moments, Jesus took time to pray. He realized that in making these decisions, he needed God's direction and guidance. The same is true for us. Oftentimes, before we make a big decision or face some kind of challenge, it's important for us to take some time and pray to God. God, what would you have me to do? What's the best thing for me to do? How in this situation can I accomplish your will? And then finally, it's obvious that Jesus in all of his prayers was very, very honest. That's true especially when it comes to Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane and on the cross. Jesus was honest. Hey, I don't want to do this. I'd really like for us to do some other kind of thing here. And then when he was on the cross, Jesus gave vent to his pain and his suffering. He spoke to God about how much he was hurting. Well, those are all important lessons for us. So I hope you'll learn from how Jesus prayed, and I hope it will help you and encourage you to pray yourself. Well, that'll do it for today. You know how to get in touch with me if you have any questions. Just know that I wish you the very best and pray God's blessings upon you. Bye-bye.